Thank you very much, Professor Anand Javardhana, Vice Chancellor, who is University of Murutu is chairing session, Dean of the Faculty of Engineering, Professor H.Y.R. Pereira. Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. I have been asked to make a short presentation on engineering education for 21st century, and I take this opportunity give me this opportunity to make a very short presentation on perhaps one might think that this is a very easy task to design any curricula in the modern world. If you browse through the web of various universities, you find that not only the curricula of that university or the program is there, but even the course notes are available now. If you go to the MIT website, all the course notes of the subjects they teach are available in the web. But it's a challenge. Can we give an education, an engineering education equivalent to MIT? I don't think it will be pretty hard, because there are certain hidden things which they don't tell us. For example, their assignments and assessments are not on the web. They are unique. Their assignments and assessments are such that their products are brilliant. So therefore, merely copying a curricula, whether it's engineering, medicine, or any other field, is not going to help us very much. So ladies and gentlemen, depending on the uniqueness of the university or the institute, we have to develop our own curricula. So let me throw us this challenge to you. Have you ever discussed who is a KDU graduate versus a graduate from Murutu University? What is the difference between a Peradeniya graduate in generic terms to a Colombo graduate or a Ruhuna graduate? They are different. All over the world, graduates from different universities are being branded in different ways. I think most of us are familiar with the UK system. If you go to the UK, Oxford and Cambridge graduates have an edge over other graduates for whatever the reason. It may be true or may not be true, but they have got a brand. How did they get it? Through years of producing excellent graduates in whatever the field they teach. Of course, there are certain advantages they have. They are, for example, in the UK, they have what is called the funding mechanisms. Whatever the funding mechanism they use, Oxford and Cambridge will get more grants than the other universities, because they want to be the leading universities in the world ranking. So the government will make sure that they are better resource. So resources is one, and also because of their tradition, they get an elite group of students. Now we have a similar system in our schools, even in the UK. Certain schools are considered better than others, and their products are given better opportunities in the job market. So in this competitive world, all of us have to identify our strengths, our weaknesses, and optimize and produce the best possible graduate that particular university can do. That is for the entire university, whatever the discipline. Then when it comes to a particular discipline like mechanical engineering or civil engineering or engineering, we have to see our strengths. What are the strengths of a particular university and how we can compete with others. In the 21st century, ladies and gentlemen, we have to remember that we have to compete each other. It's all nonsense to say that we are public universities and there is no need to compete. That's not true. In the private sector, they will give preference for some graduates if they are better, whether we like it or not. Even though all the 15, of course you belong to the Defense Ministry, there are 15 universities coming under the purview of the University Grants Commission. Technically, on paper, the University Grants Commission, the ministry will say that, and there are circulars to say, the degrees from all 15 universities are the same. But in the job market, they are not the same. Some degrees have an edge over the others. Some disciplines have an edge over the others. So when you design a curricula, whether it's the Kotalal Defense University, Morutu University, Jaffna University, or Eastern University, we have to consider all these factors. I'll just take one example from University of Sydney in Australia, because I like this. In the Sydney University, what they say is, whatever the discipline they teach, all are scholars, all are lifelong learners, and we produce global citizens. That is their theme. It can be engineering, it can be sociology, geography, law, business, whatever the field. They produce high-level scholars, lifelong learners, and global citizens. They can work anywhere in the world. That's their theme. And how do they do that? Through personal and intellectual autonomy, ethical, social, and professional understanding, high levels of communication skills, and information literacy, and they bind them with research and inquiry. So the entire curriculum is based on these factors, whatever they teach. So you can search many graduate profiles, and you find that there are certain attributes which we call common among many universities all over the world. Everyone wants to be a university where they will produce high-level intellectuals, good people, graduates with good IT skills and numeric skills. We always like to produce, unlike those days, graduates with a lot of practical skills. We always like to produce graduates who are team players and who can communicate well. And all the universities try hard to produce graduates who will be on their own, will be able to develop and be managed themselves. So these are some of the attributes where people like to have. Another important factor in the 21st century labor market is what is called ability to improve soft skills among the graduates. Because when we go to the labor market and seek jobs, most of the time they will not ask questions relevant to your field. If you are a geography graduate, they will never ask questions in geography. If you are a civil engineer, they will never ask questions in civil engineering. They will be testing you on what are called soft skills. And when we did a survey recently, we find that there are 3 soft skills which are very important for the private sector employers. These 3 soft skills are ability to work for deadlines. And they say that Sri Lankan graduates are very poor at that. Actually, we have spoiled them. May not be true at the KDU, because you all have you belong to the military. When you fix a deadline, we have to make sure that students do that according to that deadline. I think when we were students, it was like that. When we asked to submit a tutorial or a coursework at 4 o'clock, we have to do that. Otherwise, we'll be thrown out. If you are late, even by half a minute to the class, we are not allowed to come into the lecture. But it has changed over the years. So what happens is, when we don't discipline our students in the university, when they go out to the industry, they are not used to that environment. When a proposal has to be submitted to your client or to your person who is submitting if you are working in an organization where you have to produce a tender document, deadline is 10 a.m. tomorrow morning. Now, I can't postpone even it by 5 minutes because they don't accept the tender. So we have to work very hard That's one skill which we miss in our graduates. Of course, perhaps KDU may be different. Ability to work for long hours. That is another skill which we have to compare to other professions. Medical and engineering graduates or undergraduates may be better. But still, we find that we have to train our graduates not to work from 8 to 4, but to work, able to work for long hours. Sometimes when the concreting is to be done, you have to work for 24 hours. Sometimes when there are major issues, major breakdowns, I mean, you can't say that I have to go home, I have to look after my mother, I have to look after my children, and so on. No. You have to attend to that work. Your ability to work for long hours is being considered as a critical factor in the private sector. And then, of course, adaptability to the new environment. In the universities, we are all like to protect our students. Students think that it's a very fair place. Normally, we don't favor students because of his background or her background, because we do things according to rules and regulations in a very fair manner. Marks are given the way that you have answered. But in the private sector or in the outside world, there is no fair play. There are favoritisms. People will choose the situation and perhaps discriminate, sometimes very unfairly. So you have to learn, especially the students have to learn in this kind of new situations. And also we find that because of this change in environment, many people leave organizations. If you ask some of the banks, of course they don't employ a lot of engineers, they say that 90% of our graduates leave the organization within 1 year because they cannot work with the new environment. In the banks, they have to finish the day's work, intensive work, and so on. So I will not go into details, but let me also touch few important things before I get down with few points regarding the engineering curriculum. We have to remember that I think most of us, especially not the young members who are in the audience, we have been taught engineering and other subjects in the 20th century rather. More than 20 years ago, 30 years ago, in my case, 35 years ago. The situation at that time is quite different. The manpower requirement in the 21st century has changed drastically. We need people who can communicate in a very complex situations. Those days, public service was the dominant service. So it was very easy because all the jobs will come to the public service, but not anymore. So because of that, communication has become very important, and communication is very complex because we have to market our products. We have to talk to our clients. We have to talk to our colleagues. We have to talk to our subordinates, talk to various groups of people, and it has become a very complex situation. And in today's curriculum, we need to address this issue. Unless we train our graduates to handle complex communication situations, it's going to be difficult. Another important aspect which you have to remember, everyone needs to be an expert in his or her field. Those days, civil engineering was, I am a civil engineer, it was fairly straightforward designs. We used to design buildings which are of standard nature. We used to design and construct bridges which are of standard nature. But today, engineers have to do very, very complicated design. I don't know how many, I'm sure almost all of you must have seen the London Olympic Stadium. See how complex is that stuff.